Dear friends, it's my privilege today to speak to you as simply and directly as I can about a few words that you will have heard and will hear repeatedly in this courtroom. The first of these words is property. You've heard it applied to these, and yet I submit to you this morning that applying a word like property to that is a degradation and a disgrace. Because property certainly refers to whatever enhances, nourishes, cherishes, builds human life or human community. Now, strangely, in this courtroom, you're going to hear that noble word applied to those horrors. I suggest to you, members of the jury, that those things have nothing to do with what is proper to human beings, that they are anti-property. And those, what shall I call them? You've heard about hammers and blood in this room. These are the hammers of hell. These are the hammers that will break the world to bits. These are the hammers that clang the end of the world. The judge knows it. The prosecutor knows it. We've seen people walk away from these things. We've seen them disclaim them. We've seen them say they're not responsible for them. We've seen all sorts of language circling them like a dance of death. They are murder. He knows it. He knows it. You must know it. We have been trying, we eight, to take responsibility for these things, to call them by their right name, which is murder, death, genocide, the end of the world. Their proper use is known to the judge and the prosecutor and to you. We know, in fact, that calling things by their name is a very noble and human endeavor. You know that when you hold a child in your arms and name that child, you are saying, we are responsible for you. We take that responsibility in arms. That is what naming you means. They misname those. They walk away. They close their hearts, they close their pocketbooks, they take their check, and they go home. These things belong to someone. They belong to us. In the sense of responsibility, we must say they are ours. We are willing to say they pollute our world. They do not belong in our world. We are going to be responsible for them. We would like you to know the name of our crime. We would like to assume responsibility for a world, for children, for the future. And if that is a crime, then it is quite clear that we belong in their jails. Where they belong is something else. But in the name of all the eight, I would like to leave with you, friends and jurors, that great and noble word, which is our crime, responsibility.
Members of the jury, the government has presented 13 witnesses who have testified that they don't know what these exhibits are. In our defense, we will be calling 8 expert witnesses who will testify with particularity as to the fact that these are thermonuclear warheads.
Objection, Your Honor.
Robert Aldridge,
Objection, Your Honor.
an engineer with Lockheed for 16 years, will specify that these are first-strike nuclear weapons, each
Objection,
one of
Your
them
Honor.
capable of 25 to 30 times the destructive capacity of Hiroshima.
Objection, Your Honor.
Objection sustained. We are going to outline your defense, Mr. Shouchard, not what your evidence intends to show. We just want to know what your defense is.
What's the difference,
The
Your Honor?
difference is that nuclear warfare is not on trial here. You are.
Your Honor, at this time, we would like to call as a witness Robert Aldrich.
I would object to that.
Who is this Robert Aldrich?
He was a scientist with Lockheed for 16 years and helped develop 5 generations of strategic weapons.
Your Honor, I would object on the basis of relevancy. I don't see how it's relevant to the criminal charges that have been brought against these defendants. He's not a fact witness.
All right, my ruling is that he may not testify. It is irrelevant as to being a fact witness in this case.
Your Honor, during a voir dire, I think you said that this would be the proper time to present this kind of fact. You talked about justification.
The reason why it is not allowed is on the grounds of relevancy. Mark 12As are not on trial here, nor is the fact that they are or aren't nuclear warheads on trial. You are on trial.
Your Honor, the jury sits there knowing that the defendants had planned and that the court has recognized that the defendants had planned to present this defense of justification. Now, throughout all this time, the court has never questioned us on the law of justification, nor has it asked for any arguments on justification. In fact, you have not even requested a brief on it. So I must say, Your Honor, it comes as a complete surprise to these defendants to be told now, just before our first justification witness, that this avenue of defense is no longer open to us. Justification has been mentioned scores and scores of times, Your Honor, before these jurors. Now we find out that it's not going to be allowed, completely cut off, no evidence admitted, no word at all.
All right, I've heard your speech. My ruling is as follows.
Your Honor, we are entitled to argue this. You only call it a speech because you're terribly prejudiced.
I am not prejudiced.
Your Honor, you have not read our briefs, you have not studied it, you do not know the law.
I do know the law. I certainly do know the law. You are going to nuclear warheads here, and that is not relevant.
I see. Well, then we're not to have any argument at all.
That's right.
Your Honor, I believe you said we would be able to argue it. Oral argument, Your Honor.
That's our understanding, Judge.
Well, I changed my mind. My ruling still stands.
What is your ruling?
My ruling is that the testimony will not be proffered. It is not relevant.
Judge, the evidence here is not a Saturday night special. These are thermonuclear weapons. We ought to have a public trial, a full, open hearing on these issues.
It was a legal ruling, and it will not be argued in front of the jury. The jury well understands that I make rulings of law, and that's what it was. Now let's continue.